Happy Thursday from me to you. Let's go around and see what's going on. Yes. And let's get our socials in order. Happy Thursday. Oh, yeah. Sand City Sports. Okay. Facebook. Yes, indeed. IG. We're going to be doing a couple things with IG tonight. A couple items to get to. Okay. Seeing Mr. Rock Parker on my Twitter feed. Shout out to the odd couple. Twitter is where it needs to be. Excellent. Because we have to trust but verify, folks. Trust but verify. YouTube on point. And let's get Twitch going on. As they say, going down for the DJ crown. We trust but we verify. Remember, one episode I was rushing and I missed out on my socials. Can't do it. All right, so we're good across the board. Welcome to Sand City Sports, to the business. What is going on? Thursday evening, Sand City Sports. We are back again. I am back again. And when I say we, I mean the best of the rest. That's all of the talented, hardworking, and capable people out there rocking with Sand City Sports in television land. If you have a take, if you want to get down for the DJ crown, holla at your boy. Come on. I appreciate it. I appreciate Shane from Des Moines. You heard me, member of the Maryland Militia. I'm gonna try to push it tonight to get up to be with Big Ben. You know what I mean? And check in with the militia. I checked in earlier in the week. I can't let that slip. Okay, even though right now we're still in the work week phase, but still, you make time for the Maryland Militia. If Big Ben's gonna give you an ear, you gonna make time. You rearrange the schedule. I might have to get a couple Z's and then just pop back up to see if I can get on and get a couple more Z's. Yeah, so I appreciate Shane from Des Moines. Much respect, and to the Maryland Militia. Okay, far and wide. It's just it's a beautiful thing. I'm just thrilled that I found said community and a proud member of that community. And Ben Mallard, he just does a tremendous job during the overnight. So certainly, and it's one of these things, right? So try tonight, like you know what I mean. I'm going to effort, but I do know in the Commonwealth as well as out there around the nation state or wherever you're rocking with Sand City Sports, the days are getting longer, are they not? Them days are getting longer. Okay, based on the fact I had to get a power nap in. Yeah, I had to get a power nap in after the workday, after the school year is going well. Shout out to the educators out there. Shout out to the parents out there. Shout out to it's you work in public education, particularly, you realize it does take a village. You know what I mean? And it's a collective, it's a collaborative effort. We do it together. I try to impart, right? It's very nostalgic. I had a great childhood, right? Shout out to the Wonder Years. Shout out to the Wonder Years. Am I wrong? Right? Kevin Arnold, Paul, Winnie Cooper. Shout out to the Wonder Years, everybody out there. That was my experience. Now, when you're going through it, you don't really realize it, but certainly in retrospect, looking back, still gleaning a lot from those formative years. And so, me personally, just working in education, that's the bridge. That's the bridge that now trying to impart and pass those things on. But it's progress over perfection. Am I wrong? In adulthood, in childhood, in adolescence, young adult, it's progress, always progress over perfection. Okay, and that's what you try to get through to the youths. It certainly takes time. Took some of us, i.e., your boy, a second or two longer. Here and there, took me a little bit longer to get it. You have high hopes for, right? Because you see the talent, you see the potential, but you also have to take a step back and say, man, it took me a minute or two or three or four or five. We're being honest. It took quite a time. Um, and so it's gonna take them time. All right. And so you have to have that patience. Now, patience is a virtue. It's not your boy's strong suit. It has never been. And that's a reason why I had to trip up and stumble and fall a few times because I didn't have the patience, you know, learning patience, learning the hard way in a lot of instances, but didn't have it as much in those years. But where am I going with this? So I came home, and I had to get that. I had to get a power nap in. I had to do it. I had to get that power nap in. After the day. Don't tell Mighty Mick. You see what we doing, Sand City Sports. Mighty Mick, property of Mighty Mick's gym. Shout out to the Rocky. Okay, we're gonna get Rocky on the screen for you. We got a couple things that we're gonna get onto the screen, but we'll start off. I've done this before, but we're gonna do it again. Hold on. No, because I done made this out. We've gotten Rocky on the board before. Today we're gonna start with David Goggins as I finish this point. And again, let me know what you feel, how you feel. I go across the board. Okay, the socials are good. Mi casa es su casa as far as Sand City Sports is concerned. You already know. Mi casa es su casa. So if you holler at me, let me know. Maybe it's just there's so much information, right? So I don't feel I love to do it. I'm happy to be here. And we got a lot to get to because we're going to talk the Masters, a tradition unlike any other, right? Crazy. You look up, man, the Masters is going on first day of the Masters. That means something. Whoa. I like golf. You know what I mean? And I think back, I had really good friends in college that really helped me. I was going through some, talk about the young people going through their struggles. I was going through a little bit of go through in my college year. I was. It's going through it, classes, then there's, the relationships, you're trying to meet people, you're trying to connect. And then, we're not always good to each other sometimes, sometimes, we could, and people, and remember in college, I was going through it based on, some of the classmates. Is it all right if I share? I think I can share. And let me know. We're going to talk sports first of all, we're starting with the Knicks and Tibbs. Let me correct me. I got to woosah. Because that's my coach. The Knicks are my team. Sand City, you guys know this. And I don't stand for no Tibbs slander. And I'm hearing Tibbs slander now coming from all corners. As if they didn't just take the Boston Celtics into overtime just over the weekend. I'm hearing Tibbs slander, and you're going to get it from the Cape Cod Kid. I'm coming at all this slander, the disrespect. He is my favorite coach. He also is the person that done brought prosperity to the league. How, you know what I mean? Celtics won the championship. They won it in 2024. Won the last one they won in 08. Who was the lead assistant on that team? Who won Defensive Player of the Year in 08? Under the capable leadership of one Mr. Tom Thibodeau. D Rose, people want to talk. He had bad knees and back in the shot. He had bad knees at Simeon. Shout out to the late great Ben Wilson. Yeah, we shout out to Ben Wilson. Shout out to Benji on Sand City Sports. Shout out to Hoop Dreams. Derrick Rose out of Simeon, the best high school basketball tradition in these United States. Okay, that's where the knee issues started. Long before he came to Tom Thibodeau. But when he got to Tibbs, yes, that was the MVP season. Okay, I will concede in fairness. Okay. Yeah, there could have been a little bit of load management. Okay, with D Rose, just because, but this was again a little bit of a different era before. So I will a little bit with D Rose's case because he had the degenerative issues. But D Rose swears by Tibbs. When he was bouncing after he left Chicago and became a journeyman, who did he come back to in order to get back in the league and get his mind right he came back to Tibbs in Minnesota? And what happened? He gave him a 50 piece. He gave him that close to a double nickel. Okay, Tib, because he has people show up to the best job on the planet, one of the best jobs in creation, and ask people to appreciate the best jobs that they have. People talking this load management nonsense. Won't stand for any of it. Okay, so I'm hearing these things, talking about if the Knicks, that man done brought prosperity to the Knicks. Shout out to Bumpy Johnson. Shout out to Hoodlum, Lawrence Fishburne. That man done brought prosperity back to New York. You better put some respect on Tibbs' name. Talking that nonsense. Tibbs gonna be up out of here. Team built around the foundation that he established. Julius Randle, two-time All-Star. Where was that All-Star shine before he came under Tibbs' leadership? Jimmy Butler, bringing Golden State, putting them in the conversation. Where did he get his start? Under whose capable leadership? When who went down? Who was ready to step up and establish his career? Because he was coming up under the leadership of Tom Thibodeau. And this nonsense that I'm hearing. Okay? I'm here for it. So we're going to get into the Knicks. We're going to get into Tibbs. Any type of... we're going to see. In Detroit, good story. Respect to Detroit. JB Bickerstaff was a good coach in Cleveland. Sometimes, you just need a new voice. So he came over and is bringing that new voice and that new energy and that new reality to Detroit. They're up and coming, okay? The Knicks are about to lay hands on them in the first round. They're going to lay some hands on them, yes. Just like the last couple of years, they done put hands on the Cleveland Cavaliers, which is a good part of the reason why Mr. Bickerstaff is in Detroit and not Cleveland. They need a new voice. They got the best voice on the market. I kick myself every day because I'm Team Kenny Atkinson. And now, you're jumping. No, I'm Team Kenny Atkinson when he done brought the Brooklyn Nets back on the scene under the capable leadership of Sean Marks. Every time I say Kenny Atkinson, shout out to Barnstable, class of '96, Sean Fine, director of play development for the Clippers. Right, yeah, workers, grinders. Those well done is better than well said type folk. Them folk that walk the walk before they talk the talk. That's Kenny Atkinson, and I always put Sean Fine in the conversation because he's doing a tremendous job for a first-rate organization in this NBA, the LA Clippers, who are going to be a problem in the playoffs. A problem. Starless. They're going to be a problem because we know Kawhi ain't going to be there. Respect to Kawhi. Respect to his journey. All of that. He's not going to be there. But they've been succeeding without Kawhi. And Paul George, who done attached himself to the wrong sail. And now is in no man's land with Philadelphia, who's about to be moving up off of Joel Embiid. Philadelphia is a team, I need Cooper to go to Philly. He's not going to Charlotte. He's not going to Washington. He's not going to New Orleans. He's not going to Utah. Dysfunction, no. He needs to be with a functional organization. Philly, Toronto. That's where Cooper needs to be at. And I'm loving the Toronto angle because he's already from the North, the pride of Maine. Let's get the Maine folks up to Toronto and get this thing cracking. Even though Toronto is kind of Masai, but they got like 18 small forwards. They have every small forward in the league plays for Toronto, it seems like. They got Scotty Barnes. They got RJ Barrett. They got Grady Dick, young kid coming up. Check the NBA draft footage. He's a young stud. They have now Brandon Ingram. They got Butcher, they have all of these like 6'8", 6'9", long, it's like a team full of Scottie Pippins. Okay. But what did we learn from the 84 draft that the Detroit Pistons should have learned in 2003? I don't care what anybody says. What did we learn under the capable leadership of Bobby Knight? Shout out to Bobby Knight. Shout out to Bobby Knight when he was in his heyday wearing them bell bottoms and all the rest of that, how he was getting down. Okay, Bobby Knight, a coach that's going to bring that, one of these. I was thinking about it today. We're going to get to Bobby Knight. I was thinking about it. I said, so-and-so, they're so negative and they criticize and I can't, I don't, they hurt my feelings. I was going down that road. Then I had to take a step back and I was like, yo, you realize, what I'm saying? Certain people came up under the military leadership. Certain people was raised by military folk. Meaning, I know we live in an age of feelings and I, everything. Thinking about today, everything is I. iPhone, iPad, everything. Which is Steve Jobs is a genius. How am I going to connect with people? By helping them connect with themselves. Shout out to Steve Jobs, genius. Apple kicked them out and said, we need you back. And the rest is history. $1 trillion valuation. Tim Cook running the show now. Genius. In terms of how he, framed, created, best, you know what I mean? No. Obviously, people are trying to get to that manifest destiny. Shout out to Adam Smith. Shout out to Adam Smith in The Wealth of Nations. People operate in their own self-interest. Maybe we could use a little bit more balance in Adam Smith, and yes, indeed, a little bit of Marx, a little bit of Das Kapital to help our current economic situation. I'm going to leave it at that. Bring in some Adam, capitalist, bring in some Marx, not necessarily as much communist, but dare I say socialist, meaning the government and the society work together. Some people think it's a dirty word. It's the reason that the middle class exists, because of government investment in the people. Reason there is this thing called a middle class. Let's come back to sports. People operate in their own self-interest. Heck did I go? I was talking about Toronto, making a point to Cooper Flag. I forget a couple pieces. I'll get it back. Cooper needs to be in a functional organization. Oh yeah. I was talking about Kenny Atkinson. Man done brought, speaking of folks that brought prosperity. Now Kenny's doing his thing, obviously in Cleveland, and they're balling out of control. Ty Lue, Clippers, balling out of control. Highly competent, capable organization. Grow your own to the max. Zubac, all-star. Powell, all-star. Harden was an all-star. I said three names and nary a Kawhi. I hope Kawhi can be there, because if he is, this team is dangerous. All the LA, as much as, you know what I mean, I want LA, and we all want LA for the star power and the glitz and the glam. They don't want it with the Clippers. They don't want it with Ty Lue. They don't. Fall back. Because as talented as the Lakers are on paper, that's what the Clippers are bringing to you, mano a mano, every night. Without any star power to speak of. They're just going to play the right way, all the way, and just grind you down. They ain't going to bicker back and forth with each other when the chips are down. They just committed. There's a Spartan element about the Clippers. Okay, there's a phalanx element about them. There's a 300 element about them. They're dangerous. And they're going to get somebody up out of there in the playoffs. You heard it here, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. They're not OKC dangerous. They're not Cleveland dangerous. They're not Boston dangerous, but they're dangerous. Okay? Because they're highly together. Whatever they lack in talent, they more than make up for in togetherness. Okay? All the way back to my man Tom Thibodeau. And I got to get a couple things, slice of life stuff taken care of. All right? Let's talk about Detroit. Yeah. Bickerstaff, they're trending in the right direction. Monty was burnt out, which is, let me make a connection. I hope everybody out there is doing well. We do feel burnt out at times in life. Your boy is burnt out. I don't know if I can share it, but I'm on my money. I got to get my hydration game up. I got to get my hydration. You're supposed to drink like a gallon of water or something, whatever it is. That's what my hydration game is, all the way off. Came from my power nap, was I don't, you know what I mean? I need to be drinking much more water, much more consistent. I've been saying, but particularly when I get back, it's one of these things. I got to just be more, after the workday is over, just get that little sip, get a sip, because you don't think about it, as much. You're just doing this, you're doing that, and you're doing a third. But if you go through a day and you haven't had at least one bottle of water, you're supposed to, as I understand it, my fitness people out there, my fitness folks, you anybody got them friends that's up at 4:45 in the morning to get that workout in? Them early bird specials. You see them folks? Not your boy, but they exist out there crazy. Doing that adulting. They get up super early, they get the hydration, they go for a run, they hit the gym, more hydration, you know what I mean? Get the shower power up, get fresh and clean, and then go into their workday. You know what I mean? That's not your boy. That's not me. No. If I'm working out, it's going to be at night. I'm a men's league veteran. We play the night games, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, and sometimes 10:30. We play the night games. The night games, beautiful thing. I wish. Oh man, shout out to Jason McIntyre. You don't stop playing because you get old. J-Mac, the herd, grinder, built himself up. Wasn't making no excuses about, this is my person, they give me an opportunity. This person don't like me. No. I'm built on my own. Which is, right? You try to impart that to the young people. Sometimes you have to learn that as an older person later. Yeah, there are inequities and somebody might slight you and stuff. Bottom line, you gotta get it yourself. You gotta build it yourself. You want something done right, do it yourself. Period. End of story. Okay, the company, the corporations, they're only going to give you what is in their best interest to profit their bottom line. And that ain't you. They're going to give you what they have to give you. Okay? Everything else, you want it, you got to go get it. You got to get it. You got to go get it yourself. I'm making a couple points. I got to be a little bit more linear in said points. I'm going to bring it back to Detroit. Connect it back over to Tibbs. Then we're going to come back over this idea of burnout. Detroit, dangerous. They are not at the Knicks level, though. Okay? These young Lions or young, high, they are dangerous, though. Because the bottom, the word on the street that I'm hearing, it's making a lot of sense to me, is Devin Booker wants to come home. Devin Booker wants to come back to the Frozen North. That's the little, and because he's done with Phoenix. The Phoenix experiment is over. Okay? Talk about when you love the one you're with, and you love the one you're with, and you better make hay while the sun shines. Right? Phoenix, 2-0 against the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA Finals. You know who the coach was on the Milwaukee Bucks? A capable coach, a good coach, Coach Bud. And then Milwaukee stormed back 4 straight, end of discussion. Okay? Because they had togetherness. They had, the X factor. I want Mr. Jrue Holiday, who got the steal against Kevin, against Booker, right? And that series just came down to, and Phoenix was doing the right things, and Chris Paul was there, but Giannis just said, I'm the best player on the planet, period. And I'm just going to impose my will on you, period. You might, I'm just going to impose my will on you. End of discussion. Ayton didn't want none of the smoke, and he was just out, it was just because Giannis just took it to a different level. And he had a tremendous capital T team. Jrue Holiday, X factor. Jrue Holiday is the X factor for the Boston Celtics. He is. Now, Oklahoma City and also Cleveland, right, have their X factors as well. Oklahoma City is just so young and together, right? You know how Oklahoma City, they're all together in the press, like they have what the Celtics lacked for a number of years, and then got like in abundance with Jrue Holiday, who is just a Hall of Famer, and then he's a bigger guard. He's 6'5", so he can literally guard 4 or 5 positions, honestly, because bigs play differently. I mean, he's not going to, but Jrue Holiday can give a center some trouble. The center's going to score, but Jrue Holiday is not going to score without Jrue Holiday giving the help and a chance to get there. So Jrue Holiday can guard every position on the floor. He can score with the. If people think Jrue Holiday can't get buckets, check the receipts when he was with the Philly and he came in the league. Jrue Holiday can get buckets. He's just such a high, cerebral, unselfish player. He's always making the best play for others, which is a lot of the reason why Derek White is wide open so many times. Wide open, disrespectfully open. And Derek White also can get buckets. Brad Stevens, different philosophy, not holding on to picks to make some mega deal. No, I'm transactional. Brad Stevens is out there making the moves. So Derek White was a huge addition for the Celtics. Okay, and what should have been a three-peat for them. or at least 3 straight finals. Shouldn't have been down 0-3 against Miami and then lost game 7 at home going away to Miami. Okay? That had to do with MA not being there and not having a brain trust. The issues this year have to do with the brain trust having been, decisively impacted. That's why the Celtics have struggled this year as far as I'm concerned, and I'm not coming off that take, period, in the story. Culture matters. There's not a Jeff Van Gundy everywhere. He was with the Celtics last year, by the way, as a special consultant brought in by one Mr. Brad Stevens to give them that extra brain trust after, leaving Joe Mazzulla out to dry when the whole MA debacle happened. Joe Mazzulla was the 4th coach on that bench behind MA, behind Will Hardy, behind MA, Will Hardy, and Damon Stoudemire. Then Joe Mazzulla. All of them. Damon didn't get the job because he was more connected to MA. No problem with that. Ended up going to Georgia Tech. And then now Joe Mazzulla is just thrust into, here's a championship team, do your best. No, it was too much. I, at the time, said, you should bring in a Frank Vogel, bring in a lead assistant just to, but Brad, no, we're just going to go. And they didn't have enough of a brain trust. And then the first thing that Brad Stevens did after the disaster against a team that, without Tyler Hero, but so competent and capable, just like the Clippers are going to be this postseason, by the way. They couldn't beat an undermanned Miami Heat team with freaking Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin and just guys they picked up off the scrap heap and turned into Spartans. Couldn't do it. And Eric Spoelstra, talking about coaching and culture doesn't matter. The nonsense when the other Kyrie, not the Kyrie we have today, right? Shout out to that book, The Other Wes Moore. Shout out to the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, rising star, somebody we need in this country. The Other Met Wes Moore. I have it on Audible. People have been recommending that book to me for years. Finally, I need to read more. But shout out. That was the other Kyrie Irving that used to play for the Brooklyn Nets. The other Kyrie. The one that said we don't need a coach. A coach that was Kenny Atkinson. I'm going to keep coming back to that point, so just get used to it, people. I've said it. I'm going to continue to say it. Now it seems, no. I was on Kenny Atkinson. I talked about the local connection. He's been the guy for a long time. He was the guy back then. He got shafted. Did he complain about society and the ills of the world? No. He came and became a lead assistant for the Clippers. Steve Ballmer went out and said, we need this guy. And he was Ty Lue's guys, the Clippers. Remember when the Clippers made it to the Western Conference Finals without Kawhi and Paul George, knocked out a very capable Utah team with a very good coach in Quinn Snyder in 6 games? When the Clippers made that run without their 2 stars, or I don't know who was there and who wasn't. Should have never been there. Yeah, Kenny Atkinson was on that bench. You know who came to get Kenny after that? Mr. Grossbeck. No, Lacob, Joe Lacob. Grossbeck is still in Boston. Lacob was with the Celtics, runs the Warriors. Yeah, Lacob said we need this guy. And then he was with the Warriors when they ended up getting Boston. When Boston was a little bit too early into the finals, when they was the New Jacks. Then he stayed. Actually, Kenny had a job with the Charlotte. They made him a Godfather offer to stay, because Charlotte's a dumpster fire, and Charles is doing the best that he can, and they're not going to get Cooper Flag. They don't deserve Cooper Flag. And only saving grace for him going to Charlotte is I like Charles Lee, but still, it's just there's too much dysfunction there. Get rid of LaMelo, keep LaMelo. They already have Brandon Miller. They can't. Cooper needs to be in Philly, Toronto. That's it. And we're going to be having the same conversation next year about the pride of Brockton, Massachusetts, Mr. AJ DeBansa. I got no time for these tanking teams. I'm disappointed in the Utah Jazz. In terms of they've been bad for like 3 or 4 years. There's no excuse. None. They should be at least a playing team in the West. No excuse. Will Hardy knows his business. Okay, other teams, New Orleans, dumpster fire. The Zion, you just got it wrong. Just admit what you did. It's not to the same level as a Greg Oden disaster, but you got it wrong with Zion. It's just admit he needs to go somewhere else. He just has to leave. He balls for a game or 2, and then he's out for like 3 weeks. It's awful. CJ came in there, brought a little bit of stability. It has to be blowing up in Charlotte. In New Orleans. Well, I think Willie Green's a capable coach. Griffin, I just have no idea. They should not be this bad. It shouldn't be this awful. Right? If Memphis can be at the top of the Western Conference, yes, Memphis, who got rid of a good man in Taylor Jenkins in terms of this craziness that swept across the NBA. If why the heck is Houston in the conversation? Houston. Who does Houston have that you know? Sangoon, who was an all and really shouldn't have been. The all-star should have been Jaylen Green. And they have Jabari Smith, top pick. And they have Amen Thompson, top pick. But a lot of these teams have top picks and are awful. And these picks are on their way out of the NBA because they don't have culture, they don't have structure, they don't have leadership. Houston has all those three, and where are they? In the conversation in the West. Because why? They have a true general in Ime Udoka who didn't do what he was wrong in Boston. Whatever the heck was going down, you don't treat people like that. I don't care who you are and how much successful you are. All right, and I'm disappointed, frankly, in Ime. I said it, I'm saying it again. I'm disappointed in terms of him acting like that because Ime had to wait his doggone turn. He's coming from the Popovich tradition. He should have been a head coach long before. Ime was a top assistant on that team that didn't need a coach, i.e. the Brooklyn Nets. They brought in a figurehead, no coaching experience. He's back in the commentator's booth instead of a true coach who they had in Kenny Atkinson, and they realized they just have a figurehead. So they brought in Mike D'Antoni to run the offense. They brought in Ime Udoka to run the defense, and they had Jacques Vaughn on staff. So 3 actual coaches and then a pseudo coach for a team that didn't need a coach. Ime had to wait his turn. He was ready. He balled out. You don't treat people a certain way. I don't care how, especially that's why I'm disappointed. And I said it again and I said it again and again and again because he had to work his way up. A lot of times when people are shiesty and inconsiderate and disrespect, those are the silver spoon crowd. A lot of times. Born on third base, feeling like they hit the trip, like they won a triple crown or something. Not acknowledging that you're born on third. Ever. A lot of times the folks that do the, treat people and disrespect, and by nature is just the entitled. They were never able to actually develop, right? You spare the rod, what do you do? What do you do? Talked about it. The struggles that you go through, particularly, don't take a struggle away from somebody. Because the struggle is the fire that's going to sustain you for the journey. It comes from the struggle. Right? See it in youth sports, see it in adulthood. We just want the bright, shiny social media fame. I'm guilty just as you. I want it. It's ridiculous, because it's superficial. It's not accurate in terms of how hard it is to maintain anything in life. It's so difficult to maintain. We don't see that. We just see highlights 24/7. Not the grind that gets you just for stability, right? So we just want shine and we forget struggle. The struggle is the foundation. Okay? Ime had struggle, lost himself in success, and then got to just treating people how they should have been treated, whatever the heck went down. Okay? Uncalled for. And again, I say this because don't, you know what I mean? I'd rather be broke together than rich alone. Remember when we had Versus? Versus was on point. Yeah, Versus was something. A little bit of Jada. Okay? I'd rather be broke together than rich. I'd rather be with my folks. Now, again, we can all use a little bit of extra to just get these bills up off our back. Okay? We need a little bit extra. But I want, I'm not forgetting where I come from. All that being said, I said disappointed a couple times. My hat is off to Ime right now. Okay? In terms of what he has built up in Houston. Team with no identity, no direction, and a bunch of talent. Is now marching confidently, efficiently in the right direction. Shout out to Fred VanVleet as well. Okay? Right? No reason why they can achieve that. Memphis can achieve that. And the Utahs, the New Orleans, the Phoenix, which is just done. The Kings shot themselves in the foot, doing it to themselves, just like some of these other organizations. You fire Mike Brown, you fire Taylor Jenkins, you fire Mike Malone, okay? Maybe you've reinvented the wheel and you know what I mean, but these, you don't just find these guys on the side of the street. Leaders. Not yes men, not rah-rah, win-win for the giver, but have no idea how to implement things. Leaders. Lifers. That's where Kenny Atkinson comes from. That's where Tom Thibodeau, back to Tibbs, comes from. True to this. There's a book that's out there about, and I forget, I got to Google it up, about how many of the Popoviches of the world, the Thibodeaus of the world, the Sam Presti are Division III guys. And I want to shout out to whoever, I got to get this. I remembered it. I was like, I have to just get it on because I don't read as much as I should. And I said it a couple of times, I'm too much hot media, even though this is hot media. I need to get back to some cold media and some of the silencio and just need to get, you know what I mean? But these guys are Division III, you know what I mean? That made the decision, mid-20s, that this is what I'm committed to. I'm committed to coaching. This is how I'm going to live and I'm going through the tough years, the 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 years to get my opportunities and just climb the ladder. You know who else is like that? Shout out to 30 for 30 ESPN, Mr. Bill Belichick, the two Bills. Yeah. I know these different things that's going on now, and he's in a different phase of his life and doing all, you know what I mean? But, arguably the greatest coach of all time. Okay. When he became the greatest coach of all time, he never forgot. His dad was a coach. He wanted to be a coach. He went through lean, rough, riding his bike into the stadium just to be on a Giant sideline on a Saturday, alone. That's the foundation for Bill Belichick and his greatness. That's where it comes from. Okay? The struggle. Right? And so the Mike Browns, right? All these guys that we just talked about, Taylor Jenkins, these, you know what I mean? They're saying this ain't some new, I didn't just watch a couple clips and highlights and just like sports and think that I could go out and lead a team, lead an organization. Seems like a cool thing. The 50, 60, 70 hours a week that it goes into. And then they start, I was born at night. What did Hubie Brown say? Shout out to Hubie Brown. Shout out to Michael Ray Richardson. My New York Knicks people. The ship be sinking. Not this Knicks team. not this organization. But we know where it come from. those 80s Knicks. Shout out to Hubie Brown and finally left the broadcasting booth. A basketball, you know what I mean, treasure. I was going to say luminary. It's beyond that with Hubie Brown. He's a basketball treasure. Yes. Born at night. Not last night. I've been doing this. We all think we could just, you know what I mean? Monday, I've been doing this. Trust. Okay, and now I don't know, NBA just think experience and you talk back to me. They on some Jerry Jones stuff now. You didn't make me. I'm the smartest guy in the room, and everybody has to acknowledge that I'm the smartest guy in the room. And if you can't do that, you can't work here. Great documentary. Go check it out. Oh, you make a counterpoint. You disagree with me? What do they say? Challenge my authority. Heaven forbid. When we're trying to get things right, that we have distinctive ideas. No, you can't be here. You can't be my friend. You have to go now. We can't. What is this, Degrassi? What? Okay. So good luck with that. Good luck with all that. I hope, and we are going to get to the Masters. And I have gone. It is what it is. I'm saying, so let me know what you think. Good, bad, or indifferent. I see it. Style, the format, with a couple things that's going on. We got some good feedback on the previous, so I appreciate that. We doing the socials. The socials are going on for the, you know what I mean? We're going to get, we got a couple things that we're going to get to on IG. I'm trying to work that out on IG because we got a couple clips that we got to break down. But when I do that, sometimes the IG freezes or whatever. So we're gonna work that. We're gonna work through that. And just like that, you look up. It's been good. We into this episode, but to this conclusion, I'm keeping every single receipt. I made it clear what it's going to be. Knicks, Celtics, second round. I was adamant. I've been adamant from the start about avoiding this matchup and getting the 1 seed. It couldn't be done. Okay. Could not be done because of this rising star in the East and in the league with the true general. So now it's the Knicks and the Celtics in the second round. I'm not, I'm honest with it. Even though we took the Celtics to overtime, the Celtics are the better team. But I'm saying it's going 7. Period. We're gonna work them, and we're gonna make them work for what they get. Oh yeah, oh yeah. But you know what I mean. But right now, the Celtics with a diminished brain trust, with a diminished culture, no two ways about it. You give up Van Gundy to Daddy Warbucks with the Clippers. That hurts a lot. Charles Lee knows his business. Coming from the coach Bud Tree, he's in Charlotte, building them up. That hurts. Casella's still there. Mil Jefferson is there, still there. We need some other voices, veteran voices. Okay, so that's a part of the Celtics issue. Still, they have it, but the Knicks are going to take them to 7, and then we'll see. Cleveland is the Celtics now because they didn't get the number 1 seed, so they're going to have to battle with my Knicks. Going 7. We're going to come back and talk about this because people are talking about Tibbs and not going to get out of the first, just nonsensical. Okay. I'm telling you, giving you my view. But then Boston is in a similar situation to the Nuggets. You just never what's going to know what's going to happen. The Nuggets over here, I don't really have words. And the excuses coming out of Denver are better than the excuses coming out of Dallas. They're still excuses and ridiculous. Talking about how winning masks a lot of things. How about this? How about the fact that the first time Mike Malone had his team healthy after, because again, Mike Malone and that team in the bubble in 2020 were down 3-1 against the Clippers, a team that was supposed to win it in the bubble, if you recall. And they stormed back and they beat those Clippers teams and closed that window for, that team. Window open and it slammed shut. That Clippers team was stacked, loaded, up 3-1, couldn't get it done, and never been back that close again. Who usurped them? Yeah, Mike Malone and the Denver Nuggets. Who was down 3-1 against Utah Jazz in the first round and stormed all the way back in those, pandemic. I was trying to think of the word to, it was just unreal days. Yeah, Mike Malone and the Nuggets. And the team had not been healthy from 2020 all the way to 2023 when he ends up winning it. Weren't healthy in 21, weren't healthy in 22. Came back healthy in 23, added Aaron Golden, won a championship. And now all of a sudden, wow, winning. What is winning mask? When he had some pieces, he was right there in the Western Conference Finals. He went through the lean years without the pieces. We got him pieces back. He won a championship. Last year, yes, it hurt. Minnesota was tough. Minnesota gambled on Rudy Gobert. They were the laughing stock of the league, and then they got their system in order, and they were just dangerous. So Denver, the Minnesota I thought Minnesota was better than Dallas last year. With Ant-Man, your two bigs, Vanderbilt, Reed off the bench, Mike Conley providing the leadership. Minnesota I thought was better than Dallas, pound for pound. They lost to a Dallas team who had the two best players, two of the three best players, because nobody, Ant is right in that conversation. But Minnesota could have been, that wasn't a bad series loss, even though it was a very hurtful loss. And now they just decided to just destroy everything. Good luck with that. Okay, back to the Tibbs topic. Second round, Celtics battle, and then we come back and we just continue, right? Because none of these top teams are going anywhere. You just have to continue to get more efficient, more together. That's what Oklahoma City has that nobody really wants to talk about because they're not stars. They're going to be, Shea's going to win the MVP, and but they're in a small market and Chet Holmgren, and they just kind of hoaxy and they just do all the right things all the time, so it's not sensational, but they're loaded. Addition of iHeart coming from what team? Where did iHeart come from? Who's balling for OKC? Under whose leadership was he developed? But somebody should be out of a job? Malarkey. What that is? Manure. Okay? So iHeart's come in there, picked up where he left off last year for the Knicks, balling. Caruso, balling. Gilgeous-Alexander, MVP. Jaylen Williams, All-Star. Chet Holmgren, All-Star in training. Lou Dort at ASU and Bobby Hurley Jr. fame, lock you down. Kassan Wallace, UK, Calipari. Okay, and the team is average age is like 22 or 23. And they took their lumps last year because they were right there with Dallas and could have got Dallas. So they haven't forgotten that. All right, they're the class of the West. They arguably the class of the league. It's OKC, Cleveland, and Boston. Everybody's healthy. Honestly, my heart is with Boston. But, I feel like right now, OKC and Cleveland are playing a better brand of basketball than Boston. Boston's going to have to level up. It's not last year. It's going to be harder than last year. It's going to be harder. Eastern Conference was decimated last year. Now they got battles, 2 rounds of just battles before the finals. So it may be Oklahoma City in a Western Conference that's just, the Western Conference that the strong teams might knock themselves out, in those earlier rounds. And then, Oklahoma City will be rested going into the Western Conference Finals to get to the finals. So they might have the, more conducive path when you look at it. Okay, folks. Gone around the world from London to the Bay. There's Hammer Go. Now we got to go. Okay, folks. So we started with this, but I said I was going to get it. I have to. It's going to be my first clip up here. I hope everybody's, we still, I talked about a number of things. Then we're going to come back and really dig a little bit deeper into those things. I've said what I've said about, Ted, and then look at the Masters. I got hopes for Scottie Scheffler, but then just the tradition of that. But we started off just essentially with the check-in. Everybody's doing good, so on and forth. But we gotta, and excuse the lingua franca. This is one of the folks that I, many people kind of look up to. You Can't Hurt Me. I got it on Audible, per usual. And, you know what I mean? One of the things that I get from David Goggins, and so much to glean from him. Book is tremendous. But he says, win the morning, win the day. Win the morning, win the day. And as I noted, I'm not a huge morning person. But I always remember that. But he's just kind of talking about, hey, what you, everybody, what to actually be the social media fame, not just to see the social media fame. David Goggins.
So I've been grinding lately. Had to go back to the fucking lab, readjust some shit in my brain, put a lot of miles in. Every day, run over 20 miles a day, getting up early, going to bed early, eating the right shit. This last week, started taking a toll on me. I usually don't think too much. Get my shoes on, head the fuck out. I've been thinking a lot. That internal voice has been talking to me, talking about, oh man, You're tired. Looking at my shoes about 30 minutes before I put the motherfuckers on. Pushing back the time of that I go out to go run. So I decided to tape record myself. That internal voice I put on tape sounds like a straight bitch when I listen to that motherfucker. So if you ever have a hard time out there, tape yourself. Listen to what kind of bitch you're being. Stay home.
Yeah.
The Giants are going to be the key.
So I've been grinding lately. Had to go back to the fucking lab. Readjust.
First of all, family-friendly show, Sand City Sport. But we're gonna have to, because we're gonna have to hear what David Goggins has to say. We're gonna hear what this man has to say, because he's just not just right talking about 20 miles a day. What? 20 miles, and I'm talking about I can't drink, I can't take the time aside to just drink a bottle of water. And he's out there running 20 miles a day, and I'm complaining about. I already have the water. I bought the water, got a discount price. I can't drink it. What? Okay, so we're gonna run this back. Language, it is what it is. Okay, win the morning, win the day. But then now he's getting into some of these things that get to us in the morning. He's speaking about, the inner voices and the thinking and the doubting, and you know what I mean? And this is somebody that is at the top of the, is at the pinnacle. And he still goes through it, perspective wise. So if me, Joe Schmo, is going through this thing and he's on the other end of the spectrum in terms of making the most out of the least, and he's dealing with it, then doggone it, I can get up and, stop hitting the alarm 14 times and, drink the water, put down some of the Krispy Kremes, not all of them, but some of them. You know what I mean? And if I'm going to have some Krispy Kreme, doggone it, get out and move around a bit.
So I've been grinding lately. Had to go back to the fucking lab. Readjust some shit in my brain. Put a lot of miles in. Every day. Run over 20 miles a day.
Goodness.
Getting up early. Going to bed early. Eating the right shit.
Woo.
This last week, started taking a toll on me. I usually don't think too much. Get my shoes on, head the fuck out.
Here we go.
I've been thinking a lot. That internal voice has been talking to me. Talking about, oh man, you're tired. Looking at my shoes about 30 minutes before I put the motherfuckers on.
Woo.
Pushing back the time of that I go out to go run.
That's me.
So I decided to tape record myself. That internal voice I put on tape.
Woo.
Sounds like a straight bitch when I listen to that motherfucker.
Woo.
So if you ever have a hard time out there, tape yourself. Listen to what kind of bitch you're being. Stay hard.
At 3, Ocho.
I don't know if you've seen I didn't see any lies detected there. I feel a little bit feel like he was talking to Sand City Sports as far as I'm concerned. He just went down the whole litany of what a lot of, has caused me to have, do I do all those things? And what I'm getting a little bit better at is not pointing the finger. You get a little bit older, you can't point the finger as much. One of the nice things about getting older, you have a little bit of clarity. You're going through some go-through, and the older you get, can't blame that. Been like however many years since that. You said, doggone it, I guess I did it to myself. Gotta take accountability. So shout out to David Goggins. Win the morning, win the day. Love the fact, you just talk about overthinking. You have the routine, you have, you know what I mean? Especially you get older, you've been doing this, it's one of the things that you talk to the young people, this is, if you've seen American Beauty, award-winning movie, Sam Mendes, solid film, great film. Talking about angry, confused, insecure, things that you go through in your rumspringer, in your adolescent years. And then for the rest of your life too. For the rest of your life. Okay? This whole happily ever after that, we're on. for whatever reason in this capitalist society or whatever. There's nothing wrong with the pursuit of happiness at all. Nothing wrong with that. It's great. Um, but the you come into your youth, your adolescent, your young adulthood, and you're struggling A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and you get more attuned and used to the struggles, but then that's the rhythms of life, period. So that's life. So what David Goggins was just kind of alluding to, it's kind of helpful window for, even the greats, even the champions. And how he's willing to share. That's a big part of who he is, which I'm fortunate for that. You know what I mean? But that collaborative connecting component, even when you do have the overarching success and as good a communicator and successful as a individual, from he's still a Navy SEAL. He's still a Navy SEAL. And we'll talk, towards the end. I saw a really good clip from somebody that comes from that tradition that also had some words of wisdom. Shout out to Instagram, all the social media, but there's so many gems that I just go through and I scroll through. And obviously there's a lot, there's beautiful people, and then there's all kind of things that are going on IG. But I just find a lot of just quick, really witty, insightful, helpful stuff. And so in about 5 or so, 10, there's no yawning on Sand City Sports. I'm sorry, folks. No yawning at all. In about we're gonna go over. We're gonna get a couple clips for perspective, and go from there. Okay, so we talked about it. Let's get the Masters, a tradition unlike any other. So, yes. Let's get some shots from today. The Masters. No. The Masters. It's not the shot that I wanted. That is the shot that I wanted. Let's get that. Yeah, and it's cultural. It's you look up and you say, okay, you have the Masters. You kind of, this is where we're at in the calendar year. We're moving into the spring months. We have the Masters. And then soon thereafter we have the Boston Marathon that's coming up. And you say, all right, these, we can start to put old man winter behind. So those things jump out at me for and let's, my view, my take in terms of the game of golf. And, I know they have the split with Live and, the brave new world that they're living in. And, with this internal, feuding, and you need to be on the PGA, you need to be on the PGA, you need to be on Live, and people go back and forth. Okay, so, that aside, brave new world, people are going to follow the money. It's what we're seeing in college sports. You talk about tradition and culture and connectedness. Bottom line speaks the loudest. Okay, when it's all said and done, the bottom line speaks the loudest. These people saying this, you're saying that. I'm going. This is what they're giving. How they value my labor power. You're valuing me a little bit lower. I'm going with the highest bidder. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. All right. But that I just in the post-Tiger era, and yes, we're still talking about Tiger. We're going to be talking about Tiger and golf for a very long time still. When I say, it's who is that North Star? Who is that central figure? And that's why I want Scotty Scheffler. Also throw in Rory McIlroy. Also, throw in one of a couple. His name escapes me right now, but I'll get it. It'll come back to me. Won a couple tournaments. I want us to see some consistency. I want people to start stacking up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 majors so that you can, start to have the conversation about greatness and about, is this person, not going to be the next Tiger, but are they, somebody that you can bank on, you can, say, all right, at this tournament, we know this person is going to be in the mix rather than, almost musical chairs. Right? I feel like it's a little bit of, I don't feel, All right, so Scheffler's in the mix after one. Good. J. Rowe, that's right. Scotty Scheffler. Who was the other? Bubba Watson, American. It's the other American that I'm thinking of. Oh, Brooks Koepka. Brooks Koepka. Right? I would like to see, these golfers. One, whether it be Scheffler, whether it be Rory, whether it be Koepka, Justin Rose. I'd like to see him stack up a couple majors consecutive. All right. And, let's have a guy, like the guy. Okay. Brooks won a few, kind of faded back. Scheffler's now won a couple. Is he going to have the staying power? I feel like the same is true, in tennis. Kind of like in the post-Serena era in tennis. You got this star, or this come in and win one, and that person going to come and win one. And there's, anytime you have a decline or an end to a dynasty, dare I say dynasty, there's always those years of instability before the next major power arises. Right? And that's how I see golf. Okay? There's this time of reorganization. Now, is there going to be another Tiger to follow Tiger? No. Just like how many years was it between Tiger, right, and Jack Nicklaus? Right? The Golden Bear. You don't just get, generational means generations, multiple years. Right? That's what generational. So, but, who's going to be the next Greg Norman? Who's going to be the next Fred Couples? Right? Somebody you can say, like, this is the guy for this 2-3 years to see, and then another come, and then, right? But it's going to be some years before another Tiger. We know that. But let's stop this musical chair stuff. Let's get, or let's get a Brooks versus a Scheffler, Justin Rose versus a Rory. Okay, let's see that the same people at the top of the leaderboard consistently. And golf folk can push back on me, because I'm not locked into that world and circuit. Maybe that has been the case. But I haven't seen it. I haven't seen, as much as I remember one year, Rory McIlroy is pretty cool. He won the U.S. Open, and then the next day he was on the Cape at Willow Bend for an event. So just giving perspective on the Cape golf scene, which is rather elite. I remember when there was the great comeback in '99 for the Davis Cup. Michael Jordan was there, and he came down to the Cape to play around the golf. He ended up being at the local convenience store. He was at White Hen Pantry, which we don't have anymore. It's 7-Eleven, but the local people, it's White Hen Pantry. And Michael Jordan was there. This is over a quarter century ago. I'm dating myself, but just you don't take it for granted here on the Cape. That we're connected to the heights in the world of golf. But a tradition unlike any other. It's great. First day, and it's just wonderful. And just coming down, Saturday and certainly on Sunday, seeing the leaderboard. I'm looking forward to it. It's exciting. It's just like thing with golf, tennis as well. That's always instructive is, and it's the thing that when they talk about the Golden Bear, Jack Nicklaus, it's that he focused on the majors. He didn't play in every single tournament. Now, again, you can go out there and get your money. Different people do it a different way. Tiger Woods was playing all the time and winning all the time. So it's how you go about it is how you go about it. But this idea of, I really got to level up at these particular points in time. Period. Can't, there's just no participation trophies. There's no excuses. There's no, changing agents. There's no changing teams. There's no blaming the coach. There's no blaming the equipment manager. There's no blaming this person. No, I have to level up at this particular point in time, or else that's it. There's no, right? Olympic athletes have, the same mindset. Like this is it. The tomorrow is 4 years away. So this is it. I find that quite instructive. That's instructive. That's life for the people. The majority. If you're not, and really for anybody. Whether you come from means or you don't, because that's what amounts to achievement. Those small, those short windows at those specific times to sink or swim. And all the rest is all the rest. So, yeah, it's pressure. Saw a really cool stat that as I'm listening, today, different outstanding programs is when Tiger had a lead after three rounds, he won, which is something that I didn't appreciate and that you had to really think about it. In terms of that happens. I guess it's one out of two times, but it's one out of two. So a lead going into the last day really, is no guarantee of anything. But with Tiger, it was a guarantee of I'm winning this. Right? And again, this idea of being generational, this idea of being great. Tiger did it all the time. Mere mortals do it half of the time. Okay, and so we're going to. I appreciate everybody. We've been on this check-in for a minute to three, and we still doing what we still making it do what it do. I'm seeing some engagement on Twitter, which is pretty cool. Appreciate the engagement. We're gonna do a little bit of slice of life stuff to conclude, and sometimes this impacts the IG feed, so I'm just putting that out there. Appreciate everybody on IG, but sometimes when I go to the stuff, sometimes when I go to these things, I have to take a look at them. And okay. See. seeing our flag football players are out there doing their thing. Which is good. Good to see this. And then we're going to get into some slice of life stuff. Okay. Principal Lamb is somebody I respect, that I rock with. Check out his he speaks a lot on education. So we're gonna start with my man JB. A lot of respect. When I say JB, of course, I'm talking about Jaylen Brown. And then, multifaceted. This idea of shut up and dribble. Ridiculous. And just Jaylen Brown, who does a lot in the community, who does a lot vis-a-vis education and economic empowerment. Shout out to $1 Million Worth of Game. You know what I mean? And Wallow there, and Giddy. Check out Giddy's interview on Club Shay Shay. Tremendous. And let's get into with Jaylen Brown.
Is key. You see what I told Shannon when I was talking about,
1,000%.
when I told him, I said, one thing about it, when I was talking about how he said we lack exposure, one of the greatest things you can do is go to college, because that's the breakaway from the ghetto, from the hood. That's the first time we get to go and explore different cultures, you told me that. You went to college, you was like,
the greatest thing I ever did.
You met different cultures, different people, different races. But a lot of times we don't have nobody in close proximity to come in there. You know how some people had an uncle sit at the table like, all right, what we talking about? No, I got this. No, this shit don't make no sense. That's why education is key. You see what I told Shannon when I was talking about,
1,000%.
when I told him, I said, one thing about it, when I was talking about how he said we lack exposure, one of the greatest things you can do is go to college, because that's the breakaway from the ghetto, from the hood. That's the first time we get to go and explore different cultures, you told me that. You went to college, you was like,
the greatest thing I ever did.
You met different cultures, different people, different races. But a lot of times we don't have nobody in close proximity to come in there. You know how some people had an uncle sit at the table like, all right, what we talking about? No, I got this. No, this shit don't make no sense. They come in there.
Shout out to Wallow, shout out to Giddy, Jaylen for doing, you know what I mean? Education. And we're gonna follow. Actually, now I'm not. We're gonna follow right up on that immediately. Speaking of which, we got to get John Hope Bryant, and then we're gonna talk. We're gonna come back to follow up with because we had. Okay, so now I got it. This is on me now. This is bad production right now. This is bad production. So I got to come up for a bit. And we got a couple things we're going to get to now that we're going. But I want to follow up on this education piece. Follow right up on it with John Hope Bryant. And then we got a couple more things that we're going to get to. So, yes, education, yep. And we're going to come with the follow-up point on that. And then we're going to connect our next one with David Goggins. Yes, indeed. Now, this is organization. This is my thing. Shout out to John Shire. We got some John Shire stuff. Put respect on his name. Some stuff from the journey. Talk about the late, great Val Kilmer. We're going to discuss that a little bit more. Nope, that's not it. Talking about the impact of AI. That's not it. We'll get there. Here we go. No. That's not the that's not the clip that I want. Shout out to the Breakfast Club. Bear with me for a little bit longer. This is production, but I want to follow up on the education segment with one more. We got another Jaylen Brown clip. If I can't find this, we're going to finish with the Jaylen Brown clip. Oh, man. Should have had this ready. Poor. Another Jaylen Brown clip. I got a lot of Jaylen Brown stuff. And I'm not seeing that education clip. I'm not seeing it. So I'm going to have to save that for you. And we will talk about Jaylen giving some economic perspective. No. We're gonna finish. I can't give you the other, but we're gonna go with Jaylen Brown giving you some success perspective and what it means to stay at that high level. What it means to stay at the high level, and then we're gonna go. Speaking of high levels, we're going. We're gonna follow up on with David Goggins. We're gonna follow up with David Goggins. So poor production right there. We're back on track now. JB talking about what it means to climb the mountain, stay on the mountain.
To stay in shape a year.
I do a lot, especially in the summertime. Y'all seen I've been doing like the pool workouts.
Yeah, but I'm saying paying for training, food, regimen. How much you think you probably spend a year?
It's probably. I remember when LeBron came out, he was like, "Yeah, he spent like $1 million on it." It's probably close to that. It's probably close. Maybe not $1 million, probably like somewhere between 500, right, like 700 or something like that. But it's close to that, just because I have my own team of doctors. Because you got to go outside of some of the stuff that you do. I got my own trainers and stuff because the organizations only provide so much. But knowing that I exert energy at a high level on both ends, being 240 pounds,
that's a lot.
It's a lot of wear and tear on your body and your knee while playing 70 games. I don't miss a lot of games.
No, not at all.
You know what I mean? So, and I'm not just guarding the big.
You guarding whoever.
I'm chasing the point guards. I was guarding Maxey last night for the most part.
And that motherfucker's fast.
Yes, he's fast. You know what I mean? So people don't understand that. Even like, the greatest I've seen to do that, I think at a very, very high level is Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
But you see the way
he hurt him, but he be taking.
Because and people don't have respect for that. But when you do that at a high level, it just impacts the game at another level. And I think we have a bunch of two-way players on our team, and that's why I feel like we're gonna put ourselves in great position to win.
How much do you spend to stay in shape a year?
Two-way players.
I do a lot, especially in the summertime. Y'all seen I've been doing like the pool workouts.
Yeah, but I'm saying paying for training, food, regimen. How much you think you probably spend a year?
It's probably. I remember when LeBron came out, he was like, "Yeah, he spent like $1 million on it." It's probably close to that. It's probably close. Maybe not $1 million, probably like somewhere between 500, right, like 700 or something like that. But it's close to that, just because I have my own team of doctors. Because you got to go outside of some of the stuff that you do. I got my own trainers and stuff because the organizations only provide so much. But knowing that I exert energy at a high level on both ends, being 240 pounds,
that's a lot.
It's a lot of wear and tear on your body and your knee while playing 70 games. I don't miss a lot of games.
No, not at all.
You know what I mean? So, and I'm not just guarding the big.
You guarding whoever.
I'm chasing the point guards. I was guarding Maxey last night for the most part.
And that motherfucker's fast.
Yes, he's fast. You know what I mean? So people don't understand that. Even like, the greatest I've seen to do that, I think at a very, very high level is Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
But you see the way
he hurt him, but he be taking.
and people don't have respect for that. But when you do that at a high level, it just impacts the game at another level. And I think we have a bunch of two-way players on our team, and that's why I feel like we're gonna put ourselves in great position to win.
How much do you spend to stay in shape a year?
Strong point that he makes about Kawhi Leonard and being that junkyard dog defender, and then how it kind of impacts you. I don't know if I make that point universal. I do think Kawhi has a degenerative issue. I don't think, you can be a hustle energy guy and not have the same, Mikal Bridges is a hustle energy guy, and plays every single night. Right. Just your lockdown defenders, LeBron James, the year Marc Gasol won Defensive Player of the Year, probably should have went to LeBron. They wanted to spread the wealth, but that was LeBron's year to get that distinctive award. He probably deserved it. To give him the same one that Michael had, right? Dwayne, so I don't, but I do, JB given perspective, that, you can't always rely on the team folks for ABC, XYZ. I like that. Talk about grow your own. You got to do, you got to have, and then, everybody can't spend that much money. Everybody's not a max player like JB. But just, and we're gonna finish. I said we're gonna do we got 3 more clips to get to, and please, what you feel, tell me what you feel. But JB is going to talk about just the NBA culture now, on the financial side. Talk about the NBA culture in terms of agents.
When I entered the draft, no, I didn't have an agent. I'm probably the highest pick selected ever that didn't enter with an agent.
Why you ain't have an agent?
And I went through the whole process and sat with a bunch of people, and what they was offering, I didn't really need for real. A lot of the agents came and was like, yeah, we'll move you to LA, we'll get you a trainer, put some money in your pocket, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, do I got to get that money back? They were like, nah, but, standard agent fee is 4%. So I'm starting to do the math, and a house, car, and all that, whatever you was offering is a lot less than what 4% would have been. So long story short, the math wasn't mathing for me because I came in like that. The agents, they tried to slander my name a little bit, put it in the media that he's too this, he's too that. Ended up backfiring. But no, it all worked out in the end.
You said you leaned on the union. What game did the union give you?
All the players in the NBA pay dues. We all pay like $10,000 or something like that out of our salary. That goes to hiring lawyers, hiring just staff, CEO, everything that you need to lead a company, just that works for us. So all of that is our resources that we all pay for, that we agree to. So once I learned that, I just started using it.
So you mean to tell me, if anybody have any issues in the NBA, they can just go to the players union and they handle anything for you?
For sure. Security, I'm talking about, you can get private investigations done. They give referrals for financial advisors. They have a list of approved,
you get a trust done,
all types of stuff. Yeah, foundation wise, health insurance, whatever you need. They have a liaison that's paid to make sure that you get it done.
Yeah.
So I put it on their desk like, I need you to get this done, and they do.
That probably was one of the smartest decisions you ever made, huh?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you look at it like you may be ruffling a few feathers because you're not doing it the traditional way? Who is he to think he don't need an agent?
Hope I ruffle all the feathers, like all of them, because it's a bunch of players. The agency model isn't working. It's a bunch of players going broke when they retire. 60% of players within the first 10 years are losing majority of their wealth. Like within 10 years of retiring from the NBA, after making millions of dollars, players are going broke, etc. You can blame the athlete, or maybe they living expenses, of course, but they was 18 or 19-year-old when they came into wealth, and the people that represented them didn't help them handle that to no capacity or care to. You know what I mean? After they get you and they get in your pocket, they just go get the next one and get in his pocket.
Right, absolutely.
And this is what I'm gonna stand on. And this could be controversial. I don't care. If you can't help me at 18 or 19-year-old to maintain my wealth, build a legacy, and keep what I'm earning, and be able to influence me on my decision making, shouldn't be representing me in the first place. That ain't normal. You get millions of dollars and now you broke.
Yeah.
And the people that's representing you can't even pick up the phone now.
Right.
That's incredible to me. So like, nah, these people have continued to do that, and they're going to continue to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting taken advantage of.
You didn't have no agent when you went.
When I
What it? So we needed this third clip. Shout out to JB. Shout out to JB and how he just broke it down, and he's, shedding a lot of light on a number of things. The previous clip that talked, he's talking about the trainers making the Kawhi comparison, talking about, certain times you got to go outside of the team doctors because they're interested in the team, not yourself. That's facts. In every instance, no, but in some instances, yes. So having that additional resource, yes. And now this clip, and of course we got to go back and watch it again, because we've talked about that 60% that ended up going broke. And he highlighted a number of resources already available to the players through the union, which they pay dues to. And then all of this subtle stuff about that gets into the media, that gets leaked to kind of paint Jaylen Brown a certain way that we certainly hear a lot of in Boston. And now, where's that coming from? Okay? Because you would have the gall to do it a certain way. Listen, if you want an agent, have an agent. But this idea of these layers, which, by the way, another power broker in the NBA, one Mr. LeBron James, just upended, not without disruption and people being upset. Be upset. This is a whole thing. Shut up and dribble. No, LeBron, I'm going to have my own agency. I'm going to do it, me. And if you love me so much and respect me, then you'll partner with me at the head. If you sing in my praises and believe in me, all the rest of you. No. That's just straight finesse. People finessing you. Talking this and blah, blah, you know what I mean? So that they can co-opt what you got going on to get what they want going on. But if it was the real deal, then they'd be ready to partner and work with and accept that you're going to have the final say. If they was really about that. Okay, so JB over here, and whole Olympic thing, we're not going to get too deep into that. Him being excluded when he should have been on the team. But this is a couple $1 million worth of game.
I entered the draft, no, I didn't have an agent. I'm probably the highest pick selected ever that didn't enter with an agent.
Why you didn't have an agent?
And I went through the whole process and sat with a bunch of people. And
Again,
what
Jaylen
they was
Brown on the
offering, I
chess
didn't really
team at
need for
University
real.
of
A lot of the
California.
agents came and was like, yeah, well, we're going to move you to LA. We'll get you a trainer, put some money in your pocket, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, do I got to get that money back? They were like, nah, but, standard agent fee is 4%. So I'm starting to do the math. And a house, car, and all that, whatever you was offering is a lot less than what 4% would have been. So long story short, the math wasn't mathing for me because I came in like that. The agents, they tried to slander my name a little bit, put it in the media that he's too this, he's too that. Ended up backfiring. But no, it all worked out in the end.
You said you leaned on the union. What game did the union give you?
All the players in the NBA pay dues. We all pay like $10,000 or something like that out of our salary. That goes to hiring lawyers, hiring just staff, CEO, everything that you need to lead a company, just that works for us. So all of that is our resources that we all pay for, that we agree to. So once I learned that, I just started using it.
So you mean to tell me, if anybody have any issues in the NBA, they can just go to the players union and they handle anything for you?
For sure. Security, I'm talking about, you can get, private investigations done. They give referrals for financial advisors. They have a list of approved.
You get a trust done.
All type of stuff. Yeah. Foundation-wise, health insurance, whatever you need. They have a liaison that's paid to make sure that you get it done.
Yeah.
So I put it on their desk like, I need you to get this done. And they do.
That probably was one of the smartest decisions you ever made, huh?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you look at it like you may be ruffling a few feathers because you're not doing it the traditional way? Who is he to think he don't need an agent?
Hope I ruffle all the feathers, like all of them.
Good.
Because it's a bunch of players. The agency model isn't working. It's a bunch of players going broke when they retire.
Right.
60% of players within the first 10 years are losing majority of their wealth. Like within 10 years of retiring from the NBA, after making millions of dollars, players are going broke,
Right.
et cetera. You can blame the athlete, and maybe they living expenses, of course, but they was 18 or 19-year-old when they came into wealth, and the people that represented them didn't help them handle that to no capacity or care to. You know what I mean? After they get you and they get in your pocket, they just go get the next one and get in his pocket.
Right. Absolutely.
And this is what I'm gonna stand on. And this could be controversial. I don't care. If you can't help me at 18 or 19-year-old to maintain my wealth, build a legacy, and keep what I'm earning and be able to influence me on my decision making, shouldn't be representing me in the first place. That ain't normal. You get millions of dollars and now you broke.
Yeah.
And the people that's representing you can't even pick up the phone now.
Right.
That's incredible to me. So like, nah, these people have continued to do that, and they're gonna continue to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting taken advantage of it.
You didn't have no agent when you went?
When I entered the draft,
Oof. Once again, folks, no lies detected. Shout out to JB. And that's, I told you about Instagram and how there's just gems. There's just gems over, and we got a couple more. We got a couple more that we're going to get to before we get up and out of here. That was so much there. We talked about David Goggins, and now we're gonna another perspective from, you're right. We talk about our veterans and respect for our veterans and everything that they go through, everything that they do, what they mean. So we're gonna two more clips as Sand City Sports on this Thursday check-in. It's gotten a little bit late. It is what it is. We're coming down the home stretch this episode. Jay, again, perspective.
1,000 sit-ups a day, 1,000 flutter kicks a day, 500 pull-ups a day, 4-mile ocean swims, tied up, hands behind your back, feet together, thrown in a pool, stuff like that. A lot of stuff to think about, a lot of timed drills where they'll kick you out if you fail. But the way that it was explained to me by a SEAL instructor, I don't know why he said this to me. He just liked me. He said, I know it seems like a lot to get from now to graduation day, but don't think about it that way. That's way too much. Here's how you get through SEAL training. Wake up in the morning on time, make your bed the right way, and then brush your teeth. You just started your day with 3 wins. That's a good way to start your day. 3 victories. Make it to the 4 a.m. workout on time. As I'm beating you, don't think about the pain. Concentrate on your next goal in life, which is breakfast. After breakfast, your next goal in life is lunch. After lunch, your next goal in life is dinner. After dinner, do everything you need to do to get back inside that perfectly made bed. And because you took the time for yourself in the morning to make your bed the right way, regardless of how bad today was, and it will be bad, tomorrow is a clean slate. It's 1,000 push-ups a day, 1,000 sit-ups a day, 1,000 flutter kicks a day, 500 pull-ups a day, 4-mile ocean swims, tied up, hands behind your back, feet together, thrown in a pool, stuff like that. A lot of stuff to think about, a lot of timed drills where they'll kick you out if you fail. But the way that it was explained to me by a SEAL instructor, I don't know why he said this to me. He just liked me. He said, I know it seems like a lot to get from now to graduation day, but don't think about it that way. That's way too much. Here's how you get through SEAL training. Wake up in the morning on time, make your bed the right way, and then brush your teeth. You just started your day with 3 wins. That's a good way to start your day. 3 victories. Make it to the 4 a.m. workout on time. As I'm beating you, don't think about the pain. Concentrate on your next goal in life, which is breakfast. After breakfast, your next goal in life is lunch. After lunch, your next goal in life is dinner. After dinner, do everything you need to do to get back inside that perfectly made bed. And because you took the time for yourself in the morning to make your bed the right way, regardless of how bad today was, and it will be bad, tomorrow is a clean slate.
So I know we got to say something. This live, so I have to say something. That man just said it all. So we gave David, talked about David Goggins. That's the tradition he comes from. Unreal, 1,000 to this, 1,000 to that. Tied up, throw you in the pool. 4 a.m. workout. But how you can navigate that unimaginable training, and just in terms of just breaking it down, getting those wins, and one, shorter checkpoint to the next. Just out of this world. Okay, and then the last clip, a little bit of slice of life. Just talking about the journey. Just talking about the journey. Just talking about the journey and how to, right? We just talked about your personal journey. Now just a little bit about the collective journey. And the decisions that we make.
Question that I have for a lot of these women out here, and I'll say it to you too. Would you be attracted to a guy who's not financially sound when you meet him?
I married one.
Let me say one more thing before you give your answer. You have to admit, most of your sister-in talking about women in general typically are not like you.
Pausing, but it's going to click over.
At that age, they're looking for a good catch.
And there's a clear definition of what a good catch is.
Maybe you can find somebody who's attracted to the hunt.
Everyone. Thank you for joining.
A little bit of interference. This clip for
With you,
reason,
which I think is hard to find these days.
You make a good point, and I think we can't generalize across the board for women. And I think women are also confused about what they want and what they should be looking for in a mate. I have a lot of friends who will ding a guy because, he doesn't have a college degree. So there are a lot of people who aren't looking deep enough. They aren't thinking broadly enough about what makes for a good partner. And instead, we all just look at the superficial things. The first question we ask if we're on a blind date, so tell me, what do you do? Just starting with that question, arguably could put somebody on the defensive, because what are you looking for? Why is it the first place that we start? Are we trying to get some idea of how much money they make? And that definitely happens. I think there are a lot of women who are open to a lot of different kind of men and a lot of different kind of lifestyles. Women want a partner. They want to feel loved. They want to feel desired. They want to feel chosen. If you're just straightforward with who you are, you're going to find a mate. You're going to find somebody that wants to go on that journey with you and will be excited about it. And it might make taking the risks a little easier because you're not doing them alone. I left my corporate firm when I met Barack, and I had somebody who was like, I got your back. The risk you think you're taking, they're not that crazy. And I'm here to help you. That's when I said, I would rather have that in a partner than a higher income. I'd rather have somebody who was ready to do some hard things with me. But that meant I also had to be ready to do some hard things with him. I just think we shouldn't assume. You just got to kind of get out there and meet people and come to people with your truth. And then let them decide.
It begs the question that I have for a lot of these women out here, and I'll say it to you too. Would you be attracted to a guy
Barack was broke,
who's not financially sound when you meet him?
I married one.
Let me say one more thing before you give your answer. You have to admit, most of your sister-in talking about women in general typically are not like you at that age. They're looking for a good catch.
And there's a clear definition of what a good catch is.
Maybe you can find somebody who's attracted to the hunt with you. which I think is hard to find these days.
You make a good point, and I think we can't generalize across the board for women. And I think women are also confused about what they want and what they should be looking for in a mate. I have a lot of friends who will ding a guy because, he doesn't have a college degree. So there are a lot of people who aren't looking deep enough. They aren't thinking broadly enough about what makes for a good partner. And instead, we all just look at the superficial things. The first question we ask if we're on a blind date, so tell me, what do you do? Just starting with that question, arguably could put somebody on the defensive, because what are you looking for? Why is it the first place that we start? Are we trying to get some idea of how much money they make? And that definitely happens. I think there are a lot of women who are open to a lot of different kind of men and a lot of different kind of lifestyles. Women want a partner. They want to feel loved. They want to feel desired. They want to feel chosen. If you're just straightforward with who you are, you're going to find a mate. You're going to find somebody that wants to go on that journey with you and will be excited about it. And it might make taking the risks a little easier because you're not doing them alone. I left my corporate firm when I met Barack, and I had somebody who was like, I got your back. The risk you think you're taking, they're not that crazy. And I'm here to help you. That's when I said, I would rather have that in a partner than a higher income. I'd rather have somebody who was ready to do some hard things with me. But that meant I also had to be ready to do some hard things with him. I just think we shouldn't assume. You just got to kind of get out there and meet people and come to people with your truth and then let them decide.
It begs the question that I have for a lot of these women out here.
Mm-hmm.
And
By the way, that's their brothers and sisters, which is pretty cool. From the Shy. I just can't get this. But I just, right? We just had JB talking about NBA experience, right? And how if you're down with me, and then you're gonna help me. You meet me when I'm 18, 19. If you can't help me to maintain some of this wealth, so I have a rainy day fund, and then you really shouldn't be with me, especially if you're not returning my calls when the chips are down. And Michelle's talking because again, this is, when Michelle met Barack, he was a community organizer. I'm a community organizer, right? With a Harvard degree. As a community organizer. Say what? All right, but he was the future president of the United States also. Okay. Now, nobody knew that. Michelle might have seen that. A couple people at Harvard, some people at Columbia might have seen that, but not many others, to say the least. And he had the vision, certainly. That's why he built himself up, how he built himself up, from where he built himself up, which is the bottom. Community organizer. Yeah, but he was the real deal. And he saw Michelle was the real deal. So he's like, hey, you know what I mean? Listen. Yeah, I mean, you can't really see it right now, but it's there. And you know what I mean? Let's do this. Also, what's there in terms of me being the next president, I know you're leaving a corporate, you're leaving some money now, but we're gonna get that money back. And then some. We're getting it all back. Times X, whatever. And they did. So that caught my eye, and I think is in line. I'm glad we watched a couple of the JB clips, because Jaylen Brown was just straight bringing the real. and reframing a lot of things, providing some important. I'm glad he's doing. Again, you got to do these things on your own. You know, oh, he's aloof, he's standoffish, he's this, he's that, because he asks questions and doesn't drink the Kool-Aid on everything. Therefore, he's what? Yeah, he's a threat. Okay, to certain interest, by being a proponent of the interest of the people. All right, the going into communities. You saw the school bus at the last year's parade. That's kids from the community participating. Yeah, which makes him, in some eyes of some, a threat. Well, good, very good. And Michelle just kind of talking about a lot, perspective wise, but don't judge a book by its cover. But then just kind of giving, a little perspective from the beginnings. When I met Barack, he was not many people saw him on the presidential track, even though that's what he was on. Okay, as the clock strikes midnight in Sand City Sports, we said we're gonna do this, but hey, one thing we got to make it do what it do. All right, and so it was a great episode, a lot to get to, a lot to continue to come back to, for sure, and we will most certainly be doing that. But folks, I am your host, the Cape Cod Kid, artist formerly known as Andre King. Thank you so much for tuning in to Sand City Sports. Please comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you feel, how you feel, what it is, what it's not, how it can be better. What you like, dislike, all of that good stuff. Okay, it's all love. Okay, so thank you, Mighty Mick. Thanks you, and we will see you again the next time. Peace.